Summer is starting to arrive and people are ready for the boat season to take off. Welcome back, guys. It is your boy Broncos Guru and it's this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. Our first story this week's when a boater decides that somebody needs some lawn art. I gotta thank everybody who sent these videos over to me, but this is a pretty wild scene right here. It happened just a few days ago where this towboat US boat is out of control. Apparently the operator had fallen off the boat and was not wearing the kill switch lanyard, sending this boat on its own version of a wild rampage down the water. Here you're gonna see it's gonna take out this dock and it's gonna finish its job winding up on this lady's neighbor's yard.
Over and totally ended up my neighbor's yard.
Luckily, nobody was hurt in the end, only property damage. I really am curious to see how Towboat gets this one out of here later, if they're just going to drag it back out into the water. Our second story to make boating news this week, well, these guys are going to need a little bit of a salvage job, even though there's not going to be much left to salvage. This is Huron up on Lake Erie in Ohio. Here, two gentlemen were out fishing and they had a small incident and waves and weather overtook their boat and started smashing it into the rocks. One of the gentlemen was able to successfully jump onto the rocks, but the other gentleman actually started drifting out. Fortunately, local officials did arrive and they did wind up having to wade out to rescue the other boater. Fortunately, there was no one injured in this incident, just the boat took the beating. Our next piece of boating news is a sad one that we don't like to report. Unfortunately, Bobby Moore, the legendary offshore powerboat racer, passed away at the age of 80 just a few weeks back. He was well known for basically inventing the Throttleman position in offshore racing. During Bobby's tenure in offshore powerboat racing, he actually won 12 world championships on 10 different boats, and until the late 90s was actually the most winning Throttleman ever in offshore powerboat racing. This gave him a very unique distinction of being one of the deadliest hands you could hire in the sport. Bobby also went on to open his own custom marine business and wound up building boats for some of the top teams in the sport. Bobby, you will be missed. For some people, lockdown started to come to an end, like down in Miami, Florida, where they decided they were going to open boat ramps back up, and this was the scene at several boat ramps down there. These images are actually coming from Black Point Marina, where hundreds of vehicles showed up with their boats and trailers to try and launch for the first time in several weeks. For many of these people, their lockdown continued as people who arrived to the boat ramp as early as 5:30 a.m. were taking upwards of 4 hours to get their boat launched. Black Point Marina has 185 parking spots and 4 boat ramps and apparently was at capacity within just a few hours of opening. I'm not sure if there'd be anything more depressing than being on lockdown for a few weeks, only trying to go boating to not be able to pull it off. Our next boating story is going to be where the Broward County Sheriff's Office decided to go do a little night fishing. Right here they found these 3 gentlemen who were fishing off of Pompano Beach when all of a sudden the rough waves and wind actually capsized their vessel. When this event was called in, Beach Patrol went down to the beach to see if they could see the boat, which was sitting about a mile offshore, and fortunately one of the gentlemen on the boat had a flashlight and police were able to spot it. The officers from the beach then called in the Marine and Aviation patrols and were able to lead them to the vessel from the beach by their location and the light they were watching out in the ocean. Fortunately, none of the 3 people from the capsized boat were injured, and authorities have deemed the cause of this accident to be 5-foot plus seas and high winds. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening on your waterways, be sure to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram and let me know, and you might see your story over here. And if you haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button or I'm coming to steal your drain plug.